The whole body gets weak together and it gets strong together. As a unit, that's how you build strength in powerlifting and strength training and bodybuilding. The cliche saying is, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And throughout the entire process of doing compound barbell lifts or even isolation, your body gets strong as a unit. When you're lifting lots of weight near your max or near your max reps, your whole body's involved. Your brain is involved, your legs are involved, your core, stomach, lower back are involved. And your body will only exert as much force as it can stabilize it, as it can recruit from the entire body. Think about a beginner that bicep curls, right? They do a bicep curl. And someone who's been training for 15 years, how do they do a bicep curl? Let's just say the weight's 10 pounds, right? Think about how much concentration the 15-year, 10-year workout veteran versus a beginner, right? What's the difference? Well, concentration, focus, and overall body involvement. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to swing your lower back and you have to curl something really heavy and give it all you got. But it's really more about how much nervous system input you put into your muscles. I got this new client this week, 65-year-old lady, and she wants to do some weightlifting. She wants to get stronger, but she is pretty fit actually. She's a cyclist. She does cycling. She does over 25 miles a week. And if you've never done cycling before and you decided to go 25 miles in a single week, you'd probably have a lot of problems because you do too much too soon. Now, she's in kind of my domain, which is strength training, and things become apparent. And I'm teaching her step by step. And the things I'm teaching her have a lot to do with strengthening her core. That's the first thing she said to me. I want to strengthen my core. Well, my viewpoint of strengthening the core is that you don't really need to necessarily strengthen the core like by doing crunches or even doing planks. What you need to do is you need to learn how to automatically engage it, because the thing is that the core is something that works to stabilize your entire body and makes your spine stable and allows for everything around you to fire appropriately. If your core is not tight enough, your stomach's not tight enough, if your spine is not stable enough, your legs can't push harder. Your legs won't be able to push as hard as they could if they were. Your upper body can't push as hard as it could as if your core was tighter and stronger. Now, what I was teaching her was simply breathing. I was trying to get her to use more of her diaphragm, breathe through her belly, or as Elliot Hulse would say, breathe through your balls. Basically, breathe into your abdomen so you can fill it with air. Because if you can breathe in your stomach, if you can breathe in your diaphragm, it means you can use the muscles around your diaphragm much easier. Because much of us tend to be shallow breathers where the breath goes into our chest or too much, and our rib cages rise too much. Now, it's okay to have the rib cage rise when you breathe or take a breath, but it shouldn't rise first. It should be your belly expanding and then the rib cage opens up. And getting her head and neck in neutral is really important. If you can imagine what a cyclist does, bent forward with their head down in like a road cycle, they end up being really hunched over. And it makes their spine kind of fold over. And this allows for a much more aerodynamic specific movement or specific form so that their body can ride faster. But the problem is it's very dysfunctional for getting things to work properly, like the core, like the hamstrings, like the glutes, like the lower back, lots of different things. After teaching her how to breathe, what I did is I proceeded to teach her how to deadlift a empty bar, 45 pounds, off of blocks. So that way it's as if the plates or the bar had plates on them, but of course they didn't. It's a 45-pound bar. And I needed her to use the core mechanism of being able to breathe into a braced abdomen. Now, I'm not trying to teach her how to breathe like a powerlifter, or brace like a powerlifter where you hold your breath, but I'm getting her to essentially brace her abdomen and be able to breathe while staying tight. Because a lot of the time when you're a beginner, it's hard to use your core tight enough and breathe at the same time. And what you should be able to do is do that. But then when you're doing max lifts, you want to hold your breath because it creates more pressure. But anyways, I'm teaching her this, and after doing a few reps of here and there, trying to get the bar path right, getting her upper back engaged, getting her head in neutral, having her load her heels, having her push her knees out a little bit, making sure her knees don't cave in, she begins to get really exhausted. Maybe a total of 20 reps over the course of like 15, maybe like 10 or 15 minutes. Very short period of time. And she's exhausted because she has to use her entire body to really engage everything. And that's kind of what happens. You know, at the lowest levels, when you're just beginning, you have to learn how to essentially chew gum and steer the car, right? Driving. And at the highest levels, it becomes even more important that you do essentially the same thing, but the level is so much higher that the breath needs to be deeper. The abdomen has to have more pressure. Your head and neck and hip and foot position have to be more accurate to lift the most amount of weight to produce the most amount of force. And if you don't pay attention to these things, like your breathing, like your proper flexibility for proper depth in a squat, for proper hand and wrist position and shoulder retraction on a bench press, you're going to hit a bottleneck, that weakest link in your body where you begin to fail. And then you're going to have to basically go backwards a little bit and start to retrain that weak link. The weak links lead to injury. They lead to minor injuries and sometimes major injuries. In my case, in a previous video, I talked about having issues with my shoulder and having this weird thing where I can't keep my arm up. And I'm at a point where my lower body has significantly outpaced my upper body to a point where I can't do deadlifts as heavy as I could to make faster progress. So I have to make adjustments. And there's no coach in the world that can tell you that. To make those adjustments when you are feeling that weakness, feeling that pain, and feeling that risk situation. You have to know yourself. And that's what this is about. It's about self-exploration and figuring out what's wrong and what's right, sticking to the right things, staying away from the wrong things, and getting better. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.